Seema, the big question. Why did GMAT decide to change the test from GMAT Classic Edition to GMAT Focus Edition? I mean, why?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first question everybody asks me, like, why did you go about and change, right? I think the first thing that I start off with by saying is that change is inevitable because nothing actually stays permanent. But that sounds a bit philosophical. So the fact is, like, ever since, GMAT was first administered in 1954, it has continued to evolve. Maybe not as massive as the change that happened right now, but if you look at it, the biggest change I think was in 1997, like when it became a computer adaptive test. In 2012, the integrated reasoning was introduced. In 2017, the selecting section order actually happened. So, it's fluid, right? It's dynamic. Everything around us is dynamic. The population is changing. And also, along with that, the evolving landscape of the business needs. Because of that, and because of that change and the requirement that the business schools and the recruiters actually felt, there was a massive and extensive research that was actually done by GMAC, both with industry stakeholders as well as the people in the business schools. There were discussions with over 65 school professionals, concept testing of over 5,400 candidates, and that's what eventually gave birth to the GMAT Exam Focus Edition. There's been a lot of thought process and a lot of effort that has gone behind it for sure. So eventually, it focuses on certain skills that are the most essential according to both the business schools as well as the future employers of these particular candidates, which is the critical thinking skills of data analysis and of course the problem solving skills. So yeah.
You've gotten this feedback from the B schools, right? I mean, the B schools required these changes. So would you like to talk a little bit about that part? What kind of inputs you got from the B schools when you brought about this change?
In terms of the kind of feedback, they were actually excited about the data insight section for sure. We've had multiple schools talk about it's a welcome change, because these were essentially the skills that they felt were really, indicative of how the candidates are actually going to not just perform in that particular business education, but it, as you've already mentioned that through the slide also, that these are skills that they would actually need to hone and take on in the future. So when GMAT exam, actually when the focus edition came in and it narrowed down on these particular skill sets, changing with that changing time and the requirements that the business schools actually had, they were actually quite happy. So it's been very positive in that direction.
I think another thing that I want to understand is GRE exam. That didn't go through this kind of a change. Yes, they shortened it up, but that was more of a cosmetic change, right? So another, so students, when you guys are thinking about GMAT versus GRE, I want you guys to, I mean, you guys should think about the kind of skill set that you will be building as you prepare for GFE, and how the skill set is so critical for your MBA journey as well as post MBA journey, because it's all a positive feedback thing that the GMAC has gotten from the employers and from the MBA schools, and all of that has gotten into the making of GFE. So yeah.
So I wanted to add one thing here, and having kind of like gone through both the exams, to be fair, even in the past, and I mean I try to stay updated with respect to that also. I would say, I mean, you're investing time, you're investing money for both test taking, preparation. Um, in the light of those things, when you actually look at the kind of content that's actually tested, this is not coming from me as part of being GMAC, all right? It's just coming from me as somebody who's actually gone through the preparation for both of these exams, and I know that GMAT actually changed the way I think. And I've spoken to a lot of candidates, and I'm sure you speak to a lot of your candidates who've gone through that specific journey, and the critical thinking skills, the data literacy skills, those are not, especially critical reasoning, that's just not there as a population. We're just not taught that particular way, and it really does build those skill sets. So like I can vouch for that for sure. And of course, I mean, I think as an organization, we have been very transparent with the way the algorithm works, with the way the content has actually been put together, the amount of effort that we have actually put together to actually bring that as well. So just putting it out there as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it teaches life skills. Yes.
I just want to add two things here. One is just today morning we had, so for those of you who are eGMAT, we had a coffee session today morning. I don't know if how many of you were there, but we had this one question that a student posed, and it's like, when I'm studying for the GMAT, am I going to learn something useful that I'm going to be able to apply beyond the GMAT? And that was a very interesting question. The second thing is we have these students who, take the GMAT to go to B schools, and then they come back, and you talked about critical reasoning. So we have this one student who reached out to me in 2018. That guy at that time was a director of operations at McKinsey. And he said, Rajat, the critical reasoning skills that we learn, we actually, the kind of pre-thinking we did, we apply that right now at McKinsey.
Yeah.
And so that's something which you should really tell. This is not just about the test. It's about really thinking through a problem and building arguments for or against a certain position. And that is very, very critical. That skill is really critical.